What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? It's your boy Goblin, and today we're coming in with another banger, a true hoot and a holler. In today's video, I'm talking about the time that I was a really terrible plug and sold my homie some bad Xans. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Drop a like if you do. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and also go tune into the Gobcast, ladies and gentlemen, because we just dropped our episode 50 special where I played Edward 40 Hands at 11 a.m. on a Sunday in public. So I'm not going to spoil any more of that. Just go watch the video, okay? Type in the Gobcast on YouTube. Also, we just restocked Only Gas. I ain't saying any more of that. Hey! Let's start the video, ladies and gentlemen. So this one took place in late 2021, and this was actually on the tail end of my real drug rampage. I mean, obviously after this I still got high, did my fair share, but this was pretty close to when I kind of kicked it. This was pretty close to when I sobered up off the blow and the Xans and kind of tried to start pulling it together. So at this point in my life, things were pretty bad. I'm just going to be upfront. This is a time period, mid to late 2021, that I don't think I've spoken on very much in my content, because this is definitely the era where my use wasn't fun anymore. There was a brief window at the end of my addiction. I don't know if end of my addiction is the right term, because I feel like you're a drug addict for life, even if you're sober. So maybe end of my addiction isn't the right term, but, towards the end of my active addiction, I guess, I was really not having a fun time any longer. And this was one of the not fun instances. So, at this point, I was buying all my Xans online. I was living far away from my hometown. I didn't have a plug, so I was ordering all my Xans on the deep web. And typically, I would order a lot at a time, anywhere from 50 on the low end to 100 to 250. Would typically closer to 200, 250 was my normal order. And on this day, I remember I had hopped online and my normal vendor was out of stock completely. Every single quantity, every single, milligram was out of stock. And this was a vendor that, when I normally ordered from, I had grown to somewhat trust. I had grown to okay, I'd taken these Xans before, I'd even tested them, and everything was legit. They felt normal, they tasted normal. I'd given them to friends who had told me they were good, so everything was good with those. But they were sold out. And let me tell you guys something is, it was physically not possible for me to plan ahead with my bars. If I bought 250 bars and I needed to make them last for 10 days, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to probably sell 100 of them to go buy some weed and then eat 15 a day to 20 a day and run out of them before I'm able to re-up. That was basically every single time. I would always tell myself, I'd buy these big bags and be like, oh, dude, I'm going to make this last until this day, and it's going to be perfect. Literally not one singular time was I ever actually able to do that. I was just coping in my head. So, I'm looking and I'm like, damn, a normal vendor's off. I got to find someone else who could do bulk and someone that I trust. I was eating a fuckload of bars at this point. I think is when I say I ordered 250 bars and went through them in 2 weeks, that wasn't a joke. That's not an exaggeration for the sake of the story. And yeah, I didn't eat 250 in 2 weeks. I sold them as well to my friends and stuff, but I ate a fuckload of Xans, dude. This is the point in my life where I could guesstimate I ate maybe 4 or 5 a day, but it was all over the place. Some days I would eat only 1 or 2 because I'd be more coked up, and some days I'd be low on the blow, so I'd eat more Xans, but this was the point where I started losing count. I would genuinely wake up the next day and be like, yo, where's half my Xans? And then get in a fight with one of my homies who I was with the day before, yo, dude, did you eat 20 of my Xans? He's like, no, you did, you fucking idiot. So either way, I ordered from this new vendor who I don't remember the name, and I don't think the name I should say either way, even if I did. But I ordered from this new vendor, and I remember some time goes by and they get delivered to me, and I was already planning a trip back up north to my hometown to visit my friends. Typically, when I went up there, it was kind of almost like a trade route, I mean, it was A, obviously I'm going up there to see my friends, but B, they all wanted to buy drugs from me, okay? Because I ordered stuff on the deep web in bulk, and I was too nice to my friends. I gave them prices where, I wouldn't even make money. I'd take the risk of getting it to my house, I'd take the risk of driving it all the way up to my hometown, and then I'd charge my friend, a $1 markup. I would literally, some of my friends, I'd actually just break even. I was a terrible drug dealer. So I got this delivery of this new bag, and I don't remember the exact amount. For the sake of the video, we're just going to say it was 100 of them. I do remember it was a good amount, though. So I get my delivery straight to my house. No drop address, no P.O. box. Fuck it, straight in the mailbox, dude. I didn't give a fuck at this point in my life. Like, dude, tell the cops, kick my door in. I don't care. I'm on Xans, you know? So I get my delivery and I bring it in, and I actually didn't try any, like, initially, because they got delivered literally the day before I was leaving. I was kind of waiting for these to get delivered to drive up north to visit my friends. Another big reason I was driving up north is I had just gotten back from LA, one of my first ever trips to LA, when I first started flying out here and doing podcasts, you know, and on that first couple trips back, I was bringing home a bunch of fucking Cali weed, and at the time, that was, like, mind-boggling for a little, you know, suburban central Illinois kid like me. I'm sitting there like, dude, all my homies are gonna go crazy for this Cali shit. Like, none of my friends got people really flying out there and grabbing this shit like I am right now. Like, I had the motion at this point. So when I was, you know, telling my friends about this weed I had brought home, all of them, it brought out homies from the woodworks I'm talking about. Like, I think I posted a Snapchat story, and I had all my old friends hitting me up, like people I had heard from in like years, like, dude, yo, are you back up north? Like, where you at, bro? Like, let me get a little bit of that. So I had the loot. I hopped in my car and I drove up north. And at this point, I don't think there was any problems with the drive. I honestly don't remember this particular drive very well, which probably means it was smooth sailing. So I drove up there, but mind you, on a suspended license, with a car that wasn't registered to me and was not insured. I drove like this for years. I have no idea how I never got arrested for doing it either. Like, I really genuinely have no clue. I feel like driving with no plate would have been better than driving with the bullshit one that I had on the car. Unbelievable stuff. So I made it up north when I drove up there, and I remember before I even checked into where I was staying or anything, I stopped over at my boy Brad's house because he was eager to see some of the pack I brought home. And when I got over to Brad's house, it felt almost like a high school reunion. There was a whole group of people over there that I had not seen since I was probably a junior in high school, I think. And that was a long time at this point in my life. So I was just really catching up with everybody, like, damn, hey, what's up? How are you guys doing? I had no idea that all these people were going to be here. And one of those people was my boy Paul. Now, Paul is someone that he's been in my older videos for sure. I don't know if a lot of you guys remember him because Paul hasn't been in any recent videos to the best of my memory. Paul and I had a dispute in high school. We got in a fight in a parking lot, but we ended up making up. We ended up, you know, that's just guy stuff right there. You know, we ended up making up, you know, kind of a coming to after that a couple years later, and now me and Paul are cool, you know? So at this point, there's no tension between Paul and I, but there is, we joke about it, you know? We joked about it at this point, like, oh, dude, like, don't let me see you in that parking lot again, you know? Like, we were just kind of joking about it. It wasn't anything super serious, you know? Just stupid high school beef. So Paul's asking me about the weed I brought, and I'm telling him about it. He's not fucking with it because it's too expensive. I'm laying out the prices for him. He's like, fuck no. I'm like, listen, dude, this is what I paid. Okay? You got to realize I still didn't really know shit about the whole California weed game at this point in my life. I had just flown out there for the first couple times. So, like, half the weed I had brought back was stuff that either the stuff that was given to me for free, which is typically what I was going to smoke the moment I got home, and then the stuff I'd buy from the dispos and bring home, like the stuff that my friends wanted, you know, Backpack Boys, for example. I remember we were so stupid back then. Who the fuck wants Backpack Boys anymore? All right, back then, hey, listen, we wanted Backpack Boys, okay? That was a big deal to us. So I remember I brought home some Backpack Boys from the dispensary. Like, I didn't tap in with anybody. Nope. Went to the dispo, bought Backpack Boys, flew home with it. The most custy activity possible. And I took it over, and Paul's like, nah, this shit's too expensive, dude. Like, I don't want to buy this shit. What else you got? So I showed him my Xans, and I had not tried any at this point. I should have. I was stupid, but listen, you got to realize I was also off the Xans like every day at this point in my life. So yeah, I really actually was stupid. So I bust him out, and Paul's like very intrigued now. He's like, oh, dude, like, I'll buy a lot of these little fuckers. Like, how many you'll sell me? I'll like, I didn't bring all of them up with me. I don't think I brought the whole 100 bag, but I brought like, I sold him a decent amount. I sold him like a fat enough. I remember we had to get like a little bag for it. It wasn't something like, oh, just throw these in your pocket. So we'll just say for the sake of the video, I sold him like fucking 20 of them, you know? So I sold him 20 of these Xans, charged him like pretty good price. I don't remember what I charged him either. Probably like 80 bucks. I don't know, 80 bucks, 100 bucks. What? No, that's not even a good price. That's not even good. Like 60, 80 bucks. I charge him a homie price for sure. So I served him these Xans, and up to this point, I still had not actually tried them. Like, I literally grabbed them next day, drove straight there. I was like, fuck it, dude. I mean, I guess it's time to try the Xans, you know? I mean, I just served some to Paul. Like, I'll pop some too. So I busted out a couple, and I remember I took 2 of them. And mind you, I had a decent tolerance at this point. So after a while had gone by and they didn't really hit me very hard, I didn't think much of it because I was at the stage where Xans were kind of just making me feel normal unless I really went out of my way to get barred out. Now, I remember as we're sitting in the basement, Paul's on and off the phone pretty much the whole time as we're all chilling at Brad's house because he's fighting with his girl and it's getting serious. Paul's the kind of guy who, like, he'll come down after the phone call and he'll spill all the beans. You don't have to ask him. He'll be like, oh, my girl's mad at me because I got a picture of some other girl's tits and like she's about to crash out or like he'll be very upfront. He'll be like, yeah, dude, I just, my girl was trying to, get it going the other day. I couldn't get it up. She got insecure about it. Like just very, very Paul things to share with the class, like that's oversharing, Paul. He doesn't give a fuck. So Paul's, beefing with his girl, kind of going in and out of the basement. He grabs these Xans. I remember he left the basement, takes his phone call, comes back like 20 minutes later, completely different demeanor, not happy at all. He's like, all right, let's get fucking lit. He's like, let's party. I remember he busted out like fucking 3 of these Xans and just ate them down the hatch. They were white ladders. They weren't buses or anything. They weren't Hulks, just some white ladders. And I remember he threw them down the hatch. And at this point, I was like pretty sober still. And after seeing him do that, I was like, well, I just popped a couple, but I mean, I'm not like very intoxicated yet. Luckily, Brad's a big beer guy. So this guy always had a case of like Miller High Life or some shit. I'm like, yo, can I bum a couple beers off you? He's like, of course. So I'm now getting drunk on top of popping the Xans, just sold some to Paul, and mind you, I still have to drive to my hotel and check in a little bit here. It's check-in day. So a few hours go by of just chilling in Brad's basement with the homies and Paul kind of going in and out of the basement, arguing with his girl while getting progressively more fucked up because I guess the Xans hit him, or I don't know if he was drinking beer or whatever. I just remember he was fucked up. But either way, we're chilling and I am violently fucked up. I realized pretty quickly that there's just no chance that I'm going to my hotel on my own and checking myself in. But it was also now getting to past the time when I had to check in. And the issue is hotels really like to fuck you in the ass. Listen, if you don't check in by a certain time at a hotel, they'll cancel your entire reservation. And you won't get the money. Like, they'll keep a deposit. So, like, I've had this happen to me before. One time, I booked a hotel where check-in time was 3 p.m. My flight got delayed, so I landed at, like, fucking midnight. And I didn't call the hotel in advance and warn them. And I showed up at the hotel. My whole reservation was canceled. The only refund I got was I got a refund minus the cost of the first night and, like, a resort fee. So I was out, like, $300 almost one time. So I had, like, PTSD from that because that happened to me when I was really broke. That happened to me when I was dirt broke. So I'm very on point about checking into hotels. I am on ass about that shit. I check in before anything else, okay? The worst part about that, too, is the refund took, like, days to hit, but I still needed somewhere to stay and didn't have the money. That was, dude, listen, I had to make some phone calls. That was shameful, okay? We downloaded the Bridget app, okay? Listen, a bad day. Either way, so, finally, the time comes where I'm like, fuck, I got to get out of here. And I knew at that point I was too fucked up to drive. So I remember I asked Brad if I could leave my whip at his crib. It was in the driveway. That wasn't going to happen. That he was not cool with me leaving my whip at his crib. He's like, I mean, you can move it to the street, but like you're still going to have to get in the car and move it and stuff, Everyone in the whole crib was fucked up. Paul actually volunteers. He actually ups himself. He says, I could drive you back. Just get me an Uber. Like, get me an Uber back here. I can give you a ride. Where are you going? Paul was a good friend. He had no idea where he was taking me. He was just like, yeah, I'll drive you. So I'm down for that. I looked at Paul, and, in this current moment, I was like, well, Paul looks less intoxicated than me. So, Paul, here's my keys. Here's my car. Let's fucking go. I did not warn Paul about the state of my car's registration or insurance, but I, honest to God, don't think that would have changed the outcome of the situation. I don't think he would have cared. So we hop up in my whip. Mind you, Paul is also way too intoxicated to be driving. Just, I'd say slightly less intoxicated than me. So a little more qualified. I'm in shotgun. We're off to the fucking races. Now, I think looking back on this situation, Paul actually didn't offer to do this because he just wanted to be a good friend and drive me back. I think Paul wanted to do this because he wanted to ask me why the Xans I just sold him weren't hitting, but he didn't want to air me out in the basement like that, which honestly, I appreciate. So we're in the car and we're riding over there, and also I'm going to say here, this is where things get I'm going to be a little less specific with details here, and I'm going to kind of fill in the blanks a little more, because at this point, this is where I just got completely fucked up. You guys know how whenever you pop a Xan or two and then you start drinking, there's almost like a delayed response where, like, at first you'll just feel kind of barred out, but then in like 2 hours you just go full retard. I was full retard. So at some point on the ride over to my hotel, Paul had brought up that the Xans were hitting. He was like, dude, I took like 4 of these fuckers and they kind of suck. And I was pretty taken aback by that, because I was like, that had just never happened to me. I mean, I was always like, I would test everything I gave my homies. I was a human test kit. I would eat the shit, and if it got me really high, I'd hook my friends up with it, you know? So this was probably the first time in my life that I'd ever had a homie who I thought I was doing good by come to me and be like, you just sold me some bunk. And I remember I took it deeply, dude. I took it personally as fuck. I wasn't mad at Paul, but I was mad at myself. I was like, oh my God, I have to do better. I don't think Paul even took it nearly as deeply as I did. I don't think he was offended at all. I remember just being like, fuck, like, my bad, you know? Oops, I'm sorry, dude, you know? But also, like, I couldn't afford to give his money back. I needed the cash that he just gave me. I was about to use it for, like, the down payment of my hotel and then the rest of my trip. I had just gotten back from LA with all my weed, so funds were light at this point, and selling this weed that I brought with me along with these Xans was kind of my whole play. That was kind of how I was going to pay for the drive up and the drive back down. I don't even think I had enough money on me at this point for two gas tanks. Like, I don't think I could have done a trip up and a trip back without at least selling these Xans or at least selling some weed. And no one wanted to buy any of my weed in that basement on day one. So the Xans were the only serve I made in there. So I'm sitting there like, fuck, dude, I need this money, you know? Like, shit, this is not good. And I explained that to Paul. I remember saying to him, I was like, listen, I'm really sorry, bro. Like, I'll get you right, but, like, can you give me a day at least? Like, I need this money. And Paul understood. He was cool about that. I remember he did give me a day, because I didn't actually go on my mission until later. I didn't actually go to pay him back until the following day. So Paul ended up being cool about that, evidently, because I made it to my hotel, which was not the Red Roof Inn. I do recall that the Red Roof Inn got gentrified around this time. I stopped staying at the Red Roof Inn around late 2021 because the prices just went through the roof. You used to be able to stay there for like $40, $50 a night on a weekend, you know? Now, dude, it's like $95 a night before the resort fee. Resort fee, by the way. They use the word resort for the Red Roof Inn, okay? Before the fee... All right, before the trap house fee, it's like $95 a night still. That's unbelievable. That's like my rent on my apartment. Like, hello? Are you smoking pipe? And mind you, I live in motherfucking LA. That's my LA rent, $95 a night just about. So either way, I was not happy with the Red Roof. So I was actually staying at the extended stay right across the street, where every room smelled like cigarettes and a dead cat. So I got dropped off at this extended stay. And listen, if you guys remember my Red Roof Inn saga when I lived there for almost 3 weeks, this was literally the hotel across the street from the Red Roof Inn. So there's a Red Roof Inn, not even the street, across the parking lot from the Red Roof Inn. The other side of the lot is the extended stay America, okay? And that's where I was on this fateful day. And I remember I got back to my room, and I kind of sobered up a little bit. I spent some time doing fuck all. I honestly couldn't tell you what I did when I got dropped off. As I mentioned earlier, I think, like, the car ride up to, like, me being in my room, regaining, like, consciousness, there's a big gap of, like, how did I check in? I don't fucking know. But I did. I got up to my room. So either way, I got up to my room and I was chilling in there. And at some point I became sentient again. I came back to. I was still barred. I was pretty fucked up. And I was barred out, but not like barred out of my mind. Like, I think Paul definitely was speaking facts. And he's saying these were like, they weren't bad in the sense of like, oh, these are cut, these are fent, you know? They were bad in the sense of like, these are clearly half filler chalk powder. You know, these are clearly a very low dose of ALP, and I got fucked. You know, I way overpaid for these, which honestly is a really scummy thing to do as a deep web vendor, because, like, ALP powder and flu ALP powder from like China is dirt fucking cheap. It doesn't cost much more to just put the correct dose in. The margins on pressing your own Xans in a garage are ridiculous, okay? But I remember I came to in my room and Paul had texted me, and I remember reading the text, and he was just like, hey, like, just a reminder, bro, like, if you could just, kind of get me back tomorrow, I'll give you your Xans back and everything, like, no problem. I don't think I even really want the rest of these. So I was cool with that. I was like, bet. No problem. I'll take a return. I'll take a refund. We're like Costco over here. I do wholesale and I take returns any time of the year. Okay? So now I was sitting there and I was like, well, fuck, dude. I mean, how do I get this money to pay him back? Like, I have the money he just gave me, but I literally can't afford to, like, lose it. I have no idea how else I'm going to make this money. So at first, I'm hitting up everybody to buy some weed, and nobody wanted to buy some weed. I have a million window shoppers that I apparently had class with in high school, and none of them have any money. Everyone who hit me up this trip before I came, that was all like, oh, bring that backpack boys. I want that backpack boys. Bro, I think literally the only person who bought weed off me this whole fucking time was Kyle, and it was the last day I was there. I had 5+ people coming out of the woodwork, swiping up on my stories, fucking, oh my god, dude, Nick, you got some pack, dude. I want to buy the dude. Pull up. When are you coming up here? Come pull up on me, dude. Here's my address. Whatever. Pull up. Not one of those motherfuckers came through. Okay, a bunch of cappers, I tell you. So it got later into the night, and I just realized pretty quickly that no one was going to pull up on me and serve me. Also, now that I'm telling this, looking back at it, how the fuck did Paul get back? Paul was never in my room. I think my car was in the park. What the fuck? I have no idea how Paul got back. I just realized he might have paid for his own Uber. Like, genuinely, I don't remember it. I don't remember paying for his Uber. He might have paid. If he paid for his own, I feel worse now. If he paid for his own Uber, I feel worse now. That's fucked up. I didn't even think about that until this very moment. Damn. Either way, sorry, Paul. So later that night, I'm sitting there. I kind of come to, and I'm like, fuck. How am I going to make this up to Paul? And almost in the sense of like bringing a bouquet of flowers to an ex-girlfriend's house and ringing the doorbell, hoping she'll take them. I had something like that in mind for Paul. You see, there's a 7-Eleven across the street that sells beer. I don't think they sold hard liquor, if I remember correctly, but they did sell beer, and they were open all fucking night and all fucking day, every day. And this 7-Eleven you could actually go to without fear of getting stabbed to death, okay? The 7-Elevens near my apartment now, I wouldn't go to at any time of day or night, okay? They are patrolled exclusively by Fent demons, okay? I'm not going there, all right? However, in Illinois, where I was at this point, across the street from the extended stay, this 7-Eleven was actually quite hospitable. It was quite a nice environment. So I remember I walked across the street, still fucked up, still pretty drunk. The kind of barred out drunk combo was just beating my ass. It's for those of you guys who have never tried it, when you drink when you're on Xanax, I wouldn't really say it's even comparable to being drunk. It just creates this monster, this like turbo monster. Like, it's not really like being drunk. It's not really like being barred either. You just get the spins, it amplifies both. They have this crazy chemical interaction. I highly recommend not mixing those two substances together. Like, if you take one Xan and drink 2 beers, it'll feel like you just drank 10 beers, but not in a good way. You'll get all the bad effects, all the nausea and sickness, and you'll lose a lot of the fun side of like, I just drank 10 beers, because you also got the Xan in you. That's at least my personal experience. Some people might disagree. Either way, though, I walk across the street and I go into this 7-Eleven, and behind the counter, there's only one employee in this 7-Eleven, and it is this smaller, Indian-appearing man, and I kind of looked at him, and I'm thinking, okay, he's probably faster than me. I'm a large man. He's faster than me, but I think I have the brute force if he tries to stop me. Because at this point, I was so desperate to pay Paul back and not be a shitty friend that I was absolutely going to truck through this guy if he tried to block the door. Like, I'm talking shoulder through him. No chance, like my homies used to do at Jewel Osco back in the day. Shoulder through the goddamn cashier if they block the door, So, I'm sitting there, and I'm like, fuck, dude, I really got to do this. I hadn't stolen since I was way younger, dude. At this point, I was like fucking 22. And I'm standing in this 7-Eleven. I'm like, bro, am I really about to steal a case of fucking beer? Like right now, like I'm an actual adult now. I could legitimately get arrested for this. When I was younger, I couldn't really get arrested, but this was like, you got to remember, I was also fucked up when I did this. I was just like, fuck it. This is, I think, one of the only times I've stolen since turning 18. Because ever since I turned 18, I was just like, fuck this, dude. It is not worth it. I think the felony arrest at Walmart really scared me straight. It genuinely did. But either way, this is like one of the only times that I actually stole again after turning into an adult. I remember I went over to the fridge. They had all the fridges in the back corner, dude. And I was just kind of hanging out, and I don't know if the cashier guy like let his guard down or he had something to tend to, but there was like it wasn't fully sealed off. There wasn't a door or anything, but it was just this back room, kind of like kitchen area where they would like do all the prep for the food and stuff. And he walked back over there for a second, and I moved fast. I mean, I opened the cabinet. I grabbed the biggest case of fucking beer I could, which if I remember correctly, it was Bud Light. I grabbed a big like 24 rack of Bud Light. It was cans, and I just fucking dipped. I went straight for the door. I stuck to the edge of the store, didn't cut through the middle, out the door. I went fast, so fast. I don't know if he like said anything on my way out. I didn't hear anything, but I remember the door chime going off, and that almost felt like in a horror game when you hear something like the footsteps behind you in Resident Evil or something. That's how I felt hearing the door chime go off as I'm running out with this case of beer. So I've got this beer. It's fucking nighttime now. Like the sun's fully down, and I have to cross an extremely main road. Okay, an extremely main road, like 6 fucking lanes, 3 each direction, and I'm not gonna sit here and wait for my turn to cross. So I just fucking go. I looked real quick. I crossed to the median. I'm standing in the median as there's cars going both directions. I remember I looked back to the 7-Eleven, and the guy in there looked out the window at me. Like, I remember seeing him. He didn't, like, come outside or anything or, like, yell at me. But I just remember seeing, like, he for sure knew what was up. He 100% knew what I had just done. He was looking at me outside the window, holding the fucking beer. I remember looking back. I was like, ha, like, I still got it. I'm still good for it. You know, I felt good about that. So I crossed the street again. I made it all the way across, and I go back to the extended stay. And I remember I hit up Paul that night, and I was like, yo, dude, I'm going to be honest. I'm really poor right now, and I, like, don't have your money. Like, I legitimately, I'm going to need an extra day or something. But I stole this rack of Bud Light, and it's all yours. And I remember, dude, I swear to God, I think probably genuinely, if I was homosexual, the guy would have wanted to hit. He was so thrilled by this. He didn't ask about the money ever again. I remember he came through, picked up a 24 rack. We got smashed again. I passed the fuck out in my hotel room because he came back through. I don't know how he got there. Probably Ubered again. Fuck if I know. And we were crunching these Bud Lights in my room, chatting. He's like, hey, I appreciate it. And he's like, where the fuck you get this? I explained to him. He's like, yo, that's real. That's real. And we're talking about, like, we were kind of reminiscing, I remember. It was like, dude, just like the good old days, because Paul was one of the people who bought a lot of the bottles that I would go to the grocery store and steal in high school. When I was younger and I needed money, one of my favorite things to do was go to Jewel Osco, our local grocery store, grab a nice bottle of, like, Jack or sometimes Henny. Sometimes Walgreens never had the alarms on Henny. So Walgreens used to be able to go and steal Henny, no alarms, walk right out. So I used to grab like Henny or like Jack, the dark liquors all my homies loved, and Paul was one of my top enjoyers of that. Paul would I'd sell bottles to him for like 15, 20 bucks, you know, of like good liquor. And it was just a great exchange all around. So I remember we were shooting the shit that night, and he's like, man, like, fucking, you still got it. Good shit. And I was like, yeah, damn right I still fucking got it. I felt so proud of myself for that. And I settled the debt that way. And I remember I still ate the rest of the Xans. Paul, I don't think ever ended up giving me back the other ones, which I think was fair trade because I never gave him back any money. I just gave him a case of beer as an apology. And we were pretty much even from there. I don't know what he ended up doing with the rest of them. Knowing him, he probably sold them to someone and didn't tell him they sucked. Because that's Paul. I for sure that's what he did. Me personally, I ate the rest of them. Yeah, for surely I ate the rest of them. So I don't give a fuck, dude. I didn't care at all. Either way, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this video. Cardi just dropped today, and I would have been excited if it was 2021, but it's 2025, and I don't care anymore. So thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Deuces.